House of the Dragon Season 2 Episode 1 A Son for a Son. No spoilers for the future of House of the Dragon, but if I do, I'll warn you first. We have a new opening credits sequence, same Game of Thrones tune, but the confusing waterfalls of blood from Season 1 have been replaced by this ornate tapestry.
But now, yeah, I'm thinking...
I do want to see the tapestries.
Would you like to see the tapestry?
I'm gonna keep it real for a sec. If you don't want to hear me yap about every thread of yarn on this digital rug that appears before the actual episode even starts, you can do yourself a favor and skip right here. We start with a depiction of Valyria, like the model Viserys had in Season 1. This is where houses Targaryen, Velaryon, and Celtigar come from. Next is this dragon with flaming wings, and it has a human head, or maybe it's just eating a human head. People are kneeling in front of it. Maybe they're about to become food, or maybe that's its rider, or maybe they're blood mages. We're seeing the hybridization between human and dragon. Then we see two women, one dead. I think the alive one might be Rhaenys Targaryen, or Rhaenys the Dreamer, dreaming of the forthcoming doom of Valyria, cause there's blood and death. And then her hair turns into more thread, which connects to a depiction of the doom. This is one of the 14 flames, a volcano erupting. All the Valyrians and their dragons are now gone. The sky is falling. Then we see 3 dragons, a black, a silver, a green. Surely this is Aegon the Conqueror astride Balerion the Black Dread, his sister-wife Rhaenys astride Meraxes, and finally his sister-wife Visenya astride Vhagar. In Valyria, those were the names of gods. In Westeros, those are names to strike fear of fire and blood. Oh, wait a second, they messed it up. Visenya is the one who wore a braid, but she's riding Meraxes, while Rhaenys is riding Vhagar. They switched it. Why did they switch it? Who messed up? Was it you, Ryan? How about you, Sarah? Was there no quality assurance?
Quality assurance.
Here's a puddle of blood of all the people the Conquerors conquered. This shield is from House Gardener, who ruled Highgarden and the Reach before the Tyrells. I think this is a Lannister lion shield. The Gardeners and Lannisters fought together against Aegon and his sisters at the Field of Fire. They got toasted, obviously. And I guess this figure here is the silhouette of Aegon's crown, or maybe Harrenhal. This is not my favorite. My favorite depiction is from the artist Amok. It's a bit more accurate to the books, but whatever. From left to right, we have Lady Shara and her son, King Ronal Arryn, King Torrhen Stark, and Lord Edmund Tully. All of them bent the knee instead of fighting. Targaryen sigil, which Aegon the Conqueror invented, the Red Keep, and King's Landing. Now this looks like the death of Maegor the Cruel. He was mysteriously impaled on the Iron Throne. Maegor was the 3rd king though, after his brother Aenys, so I guess Aenys was too boring to show. But now we have Aenys' son and daughter, King Jae-heir-ys and Queen Alysanne, who ruled Westeros for 55 years up until right here, the Great Council which opened Season 1. Viserys was chosen as the next king over his older female cousin Rhaenys. Shout out Septon Barth. Here's the dinner scene from Episode 8, Rhaenyra and the Blacks on one side, then Aegon and the Greens on the other. We can see Alicent and Rhaenyra overlooking the table in their famous dresses, which named each faction of the war. Finally, Aegon II on the Iron Throne, and Rhaenyra on the throne of Dragonstone. This new intro sequence doesn't show everything from Targaryen history, for example, Queen Rhaena the Black Bride, but it's pretty cool.
My father brought King Jae-heir-ys and Queen Alysanne to see the wall.
Cregan's father was this guy, Lord Rickon Stark. Sam mentions in Book 4 when Alysanne came to the wall. Jaehaerys was not with her in the books. But Alysanne met with Alaric Stark, not Cregan's father Rickon. So either the show got it wrong, or they just changed it. Alysanne's dragon, Silverwing, refused to fly past the wall. For some reason, she kept turning back around south. Maybe the spells within the wall deter dragons and their fire magic. Or maybe dragons can sense the White Walkers. We didn't get to see if Jace tried to fly Vermax over the wall. The book also says Vermax might have laid a clutch of eggs during his visit to Winterfell. Some readers think these eggs are now hidden in the Winterfell crypts, waiting to be hatched and ridden by Jon Snow, or his offspring with Daenerys. Who knows? Cregan also wears the Valyrian steel greatsword Ice on his back. The inside of the Dragonmont is really cool. I guess this is where Targaryens park their dragons. It reminds me of the Batcave a little. And let's step into the David J. Peterson classroom for a second, because Rhaenys is speaking a little High Valyrian. She says Gaevi Melees, which translates to either good or beautiful Melees. I like how Daemon tries to pull rank on Rhaenys, but he's not the king, so no one can command Rhaenys unless they're the monarch. Also, this suit of armor from about 20 years earlier still fits him perfectly. Daemon's really kept his figure. Also, he calls Vhagar a
hoary old bitch,
which is awesome, but in the book, this is Jace's line. I want Jace to get cool lines too.
I am indebted to you, Alan.
This guy is one of the best characters from Fire and Blood, along with his brother Adam, who we'll see later this season. Corlys thinks his son Laenor is dead. His daughter Laena is dead. His brother Vaemond is extremely dead. Lucerys was supposed to be his heir, but now he's dead. So now the Lord of the Tides, an old man, has no heir to the Driftwood throne. The succession of Driftmark is a storyline to watch this season. Aeric Cargill has a scorpion, which Maester Qyburn did not invent. These have existed for years. Dorne used them against the Conquerors, and killed Rhaenys and Meraxes using a scorpion.
Digital magic.
Queen Helaena is stitching something and whispering something, but I can't decipher what she's saying. And the subtitles don't have it either. If you have a guess, please comment. Helaena is probably my favorite character in the show, and I think she's stitching her son's funeral shroud or cloak without even realizing it. Also, hey, Aegon being a good father and husband. I like how he's sort of patient with Helaena, in a funny way. Good dynamic between them, which I feared we wouldn't see at all. When the scene began, I figured Aegon would be drunk, and then he'd berate Helaena for being Helaena, and then fondle one of the handmaids before leaving.
Oh, it's just harmless fun.
Seriously though, you can tell by the handmaid's reaction when Aegon entered that the vibe was just abysmal. He's probably at least groped at least one of them, perhaps all three. I think Aegon represents the sometimes bad men can be good kings idea. His father Viserys was a good man, arguably, I'd argue not, but a very poor king. And perhaps Aegon is the opposite, a terrible man, but a fine king. Also, when Helaena says she's afraid of something, have we not learned to listen? There was a beast beneath the boards. Aemond did have to close an eye. After the Larys foot fetish scene, I can never be surprised again, but I was not expecting to see and hear Criston Cole munching on Alicent's low tower in broad daylight. The Alicole, or perhaps Cralicent, relationship makes sense. It makes this scene from episode 9 come full circle, and it's nice to see that after being married off as a teenager to a rotting corpse, twice her age, Alicent is finally able to explore her sexuality in the way she was jealous Rhaenyra was able to.
Good for her.
Getting that Criston Cole ussy. Speaking of Criston, swears a vow of chastity to join a brotherhood of men, meets a hot woman, ignores said vow due to hot woman. Welcome back, Jon Snow?
We cannot. Again.
Me when I lie. Also, I think we can all accept Alicent is a hypocrite. Just days before this episode takes place, she was all about the faith, and she complained about Rhaenyra's sexual impropriety. Meanwhile, she is using Criston Cole like the whore he didn't want to become for Rhaenyra all those years ago. These two have graduated summa cum laude from Hypocrite University, and that's okay. Their relationship is messy, and messy is entertaining. Gotta love a guy just doing his job. Hardworking, nose to the grindstone, real working class patriot. Aegon brings Jae-heir-ys to the small council, and I must remind you that Rhaenyra's heir is also called Jaehaerys. I mean Jaehaerys. That's way different. Come on, George. Aegon is unbothered by the Vale and the North ignoring him, because his dragons are bigger. He wants to just burn everything, including the Valyrian blockade in the Blackwater, instead of planning strategies. Otto also reminds us that Aemond is getting betrothed to Florys Baratheon. That's why he was at Storm's End, to secure the Baratheon support for Team Green. In the book, Florys' sister Maris is really mean to Aemond. After Luke leaves, she asks if he just took Aemond's eye, or perhaps his balls as well. Tywin Lannister, the Master of Coin, speaks about bolstering the Lannister and Hightower navies. It's weird that he didn't mention the Red Wine Fleet from the Arbor just south of Old Town. I believe theirs is the second largest to the Valerian fleet. Hopefully we get to see them sailing at some point. I am a sucker for ships. We see Aegon picking at his fingertips just like his mother Alicent used to do. I guess anxiety runs in the Hightower family genes. Perhaps that's why in the main series, Lord Leighton Hightower has not left the High Tower for over a decade. He's too socially anxious to come down and talk to people. I love it when rich people are relatable like that. Grand Maester Orwyle says they need a new master of ships and suggests Dalton Greyjoy, the Red Kraken. This gives me hope we might actually see him in the future. Aegon says that Aemond is his brother, and he shall have his place on his council. This is what their father Viserys said of his brother Daemon, but we know how well that went. This king doesn't appear to care about the atrocities his roguish brother commits. Viserys was kind of a wet blanket, and also a horrible father. Aegon appears to be acting the opposite of how King Viserys did. He has a close bond to Aemond, and he shows affection to his children, the way Viserys probably never showed affection to him, Aemond, or Helaena.
My only child.
Larys Clubfoot intercepts Alicent in the hallway. He stands tall, hardly needing to rely on his firefly cane at all these days. Curiously, we later see Larys slouching against his cane when he speaks to King Aegon. I think this means that Larys puts on a show and acts submissive when speaking to someone he needs to sway. It's how he used to talk to Alicent, but now he has power over Alicent, so there's no need to sloop. But Aegon has power over him, not yet fallen victim to Larys' charm. So Aegon needs to think of Larys as no threat at all, a crippled man leaning on his cane. This reminds me of Grand Maester Pycelle from Game of Thrones. Usually we see him stuttering over his words and hunching over like an old man. But we get this rare glimpse of Pycelle stretching and standing tall until he gets into character and slouches. There's also an amazing deleted scene where Tywin Lannister exposes Pycelle's acting. Maybe Aegon will expose Larys in a future episode. King Aegon II enters the throne room wearing a sick green cape and this disappointing crown of the Conqueror. I think the rubies were stolen out of HBO's budget, along with the purple eyes and Daeron. This guy is Sir Martin Rayne of Castamere, and this one is Leon Estermont of Estermont, an island with turtles presumably, since they're displayed on the Estermont banners. As a boy, George R.R. Martin played with turtles, and imagined them as knights. He also wears a hat with a turtle pin. And here are some of George Martin's other drippiest looks. This guy is Eddard Waters, a bastard hedge knight from the Crownlands. Aegon probably met him in Fleabottom, but he's no class supremacist. If you're fun to drink with, it doesn't matter if you're a low-born hedge knight. Come on into the throne room and drink with me while 2 assassins make their way to kill my child. Oh hey, it's Viserys. They're putting up a statue of him just like the ones we saw in Season 1. You know what? This is probably the most time he's ever spent in proximity to Aegon.
Hugh, Your Grace.
I know who that is, but I won't spoil it. Why does Otto mention Aemond still wanting vengeance? He already killed Luke. It seems odd to single out Aemond's vengeance at this point. But look at me, picking nits. Emma Darcy is a really good actor. And Daemon must be really psyched that his wife no longer wants to avoid war. He won't have to choke the sense into Rhaenyra this time. She says she wants Aemond Targaryen, and not in an incest way, but rather in a more murderous, revenge type of way. So the rogue prince has a new side quest. But first, let us pause for a moment and consider how quickly Jaehaerys flew to the Vale, negotiated with Jane Arryn, flew to Winterfell, presumably rode a horse to the Wall, negotiated with Cregan Stark, and flew back to Dragonstone. The journey from Winterfell to the Wall alone took Jon Snow and Tyrion over 18 days. So maybe Jace let Cregan hop onto Vermax Brokeback Dragon style, and they flew to the Wall instead. Otherwise this is another Gendry fast travel situation. Oh sheesh, it's the return of the crime cloak. That thing must smell horrible, or maybe really good. Daemon still has connections in the City Watch, since he's the one who started the whole gold cloaks thing. I think in another life, Daemon might have been a fashion designer. Those snazzy gold cloaks, that fierce dragon armor, He's just got that unattainable swagger of an ageless, elf-based, Valyrian humanoid dragon supremacist. He tells Cheese, the blue-collar, lunch-pail, gritty, please-date-my-daughter rat-catcher, that he requires a death. Prince Aemond Targaryen. Now, if Daemon wanted this done right, he'd have hired a faceless man, or a sorrowful man. But he's only got this bag of coins, so these two will have to do. This guy is named Blood. Blood and Cheese. What a couple of working class, first guy in, last guy out, dressed to impress. Cheese mentions the secret tunnels built by Maegor. Believe it or not, this is lore accurate. This is adapted from George R.R. Martin's book, Fire and Blood, which tells us about Maegor the Cruel having his stonemasons build secret passageways in the Red Keep, and then killing them all so they couldn't tell his secrets. But the book adaptation stops there. Oh, look at cute little Jae-heir-ys. He just wanted to play pony. Hey, Blood is just gonna play pony with him, right? He's the heir to the throne. He wants to play pony. Gulp. He's not sounding particularly capitated. Daemon Targaryen, I am inside your carpet. I stayed silent when you killed Jae-heir-ys. I laughed when you stomped on this random soldier in the stepstones. I clapped when you snapped this servant's neck. I raised my cup to the heir for a day. And I cheered when you sliced Vaemond Valerion like a lemon cake. I got turned on when you perved on your much younger niece. But this was the final straw. You are not the man I thought you were. Look at HELAENA running down the hall, man. I bet she's thinking, there's no possible way this night can get any worse. And then she walks in on her mom wrestling with her Kingsguard. Man, that's awkward. There is a surprising lack of guards or literally anybody in Maegor's holdfast at night when a war has just begun. This seems really convenient for Blood and Cheese to happen, but maybe we can explain it by saying Criston Cole sent all the household guards away, so that no one could walk in on him checking Alicent's naked body for ticks. There was also this Larys line from earlier, about killing some members of the household staff. Maybe some of them were guards. So I guess this means HELAENA never tells Aegon about this? Because why would Aegon keep him around after learning Criston's been servicing his mother? Are these dragon egg warmers beneath Jae-heir-ys and Jae-heir-ys' beds? Or are they just chamber pots? If they're egg warmers, that means their dragons, Shrykos and Morgul, don't exist, apparently. As you probably know, Blood and Cheese happens way differently in the book. For starters, HELAENA has 3 kids, not 2. But baby Maelor is not born yet in the show, according to an interview with Ryan Condal. Also, Alicent was there when Blood and Cheese came. HELAENA was forced to choose which of her 2 sons, Jae-heir-ys or Maelor, must die. HELAENA offered her own life, but was denied, so she had to choose Maelor, the youngest, since Jae-heir-ys was the heir. And then they killed Jae-heir-ys instead, leaving Maelor alive with the knowledge that his mother chose him to die. In the show, Alicent is absent, as is Maelor. Blood and Cheese do give her a choice, but it's different and not quite as dramatic. HELAENA can choose to lie about which twin is the male, or she can tell the truth. She told the truth, they do a bit of infanticide, and she runs to her mother. It's interesting that HELAENA never screams for help. Maybe she was too shocked to understand the gravity of the situation. After all, she's definitely on the old spectrum. But maybe she wasn't that surprised. Maybe she knew this would happen. HELAENA is a dragon dreamer in the show, and talked about rats earlier in the episode. She even looks at her children's cradles after saying it. And now the rat catcher has come to kill her son. Yet another of HELAENA's dreams has come true. So at this point, her concept of reality must be clouded between what she dreams and what becomes true. It makes a lot of sense HELAENA would just sort of disassociate here. And it does seem like HELAENA's impulse is to freeze during stressful situations. She freezes when Daemon benoggins Vaemond, for example. It might have been more emotionally impactful if HELAENA had screamed. Audiences connect to emotion, not stoicism, especially during child murder. But I think the way HELAENA acted was great. If you want my opinion about Blood and Cheese, I shall express it thusly. Meh, it's fine. The book version is better, and it's one of the things George explicitly wrote in detail, so there wasn't much ambiguity. We even have direct quotes. But they went another direction, and that's fine. I'm over it. Rhaenys can commit mass vehicular manslaughter, Aegon's crown can be from AliExpress, Aegon's banner can look like a Tyrell banner, Rhaenyra's banner can simply just not even try, Aemon's killing of Luke can be accidental. Alicent can legitimately believe Viserys wanted Aegon to be king. I still think the show is good. Season 1 was good, and it's still good. There were some really good changes, like Alicent and Rhaenyra starting off as friends. I think if an adaptation is changing something from the books, it should always improve the story. There are changes I wouldn't have made, but I'm a filthy, despicable book purist, and my feelings don't matter. Yours do though, so comment down below your thoughts on the episode. I'm just gonna mention a few spoilery things now, so if you haven't read Fire and Blood, please leave and come back next week. Go watch Gladius or something, I don't know.
Every corner may contain cheese, so keep your eyes peeled for cheese.
While I myself have sworn my sword to the Shepherd, and to the Red Kraken, and also to the Prince of Dorne, I have a message to all of you on Team Black. Really, you should be thanking Team Green for opposing Rhaenyra, and allow me to explain. First, drama. Fun. Less importantly, we would never get Daenerys Targaryen and Jon Snow if the Greens didn't fight Rhaenyra. You see, Dany and Jon are descended from Viserys II, Rhaenyra's son, but he never would have been king if Rhaenyra had become queen, and Jaehaerys the king after her. Because Rhaenyra and Jace died, and because Aegon III got tuberculosis, we got sent down a path that led us to Dany and Jon, the princesses that were promised. So next time you see a member of Team Green, stop and thank them for their service. Thanks for watching and subscribing.